Hi, everyone. My name's Chris Wilkie. I am here on the Biz Professors YouTube channel, and we're doing a live video. So, this is one of the first ones we're doing. I used to do these a ton when I did FBA Master. So, I'm very used to doing this kind of stuff, but I want to see if we can get some engagement and answer some questions. So, what we're going to talk about today is how I come up with digital marketing assignments. So, we're going to spend some time thinking through the ideation of like, okay, I have an assignment idea that I want to hit. How do I end up going to where I'm going to go? I'm going to bring up some examples as well. So, if you haven't seen, I'll throw it in the chat real quick. We have the link to the article that I'm kind of be referencing a little bit here, and it's all based upon the idea of doing assignments. So, I have been teaching taught econ, finance, marketing, and math. Had a lot of experience doing some different assignment ideation and creation. But there's kind of a process that you follow. I'd like to tell you to make the perfect assignment, you need to do X, Y, Z and do this and that, but there's not really one there. When it comes to digital marketing, on the other hand, I find that I like to pull a lot from my personal experiences. So I want to walk you through what I do when I do an assignment like this. So, first thing I do is we're going to start thinking off about the topic. There's no reason to create an assignment without the topic. Some people like to create assignments and figure out how to create content or lectures around that, but I like to do the opposite way. I like to come up with an idea in the topic first and then build an assignment that hits that topic. So once I come up with the topic, I'm going to be actually looking then how am I going to put this out to my students? So am I going to do a in-class assignment? Is this going to be a paper? Is this going to be a presentation? Is this going to be a project? Is this going to be something they're going to turn in and mess with? How will this kind of come together? A lot of times, my cadence in classes is Mondays, I do a lecture, Wednesdays in class, and Fridays, I start on a homework assignment for the weekend to get the students kind of prepped and ready. We kind of follow that cadence throughout the entire semester. So, most of the time, if I'm looking for create an assignment on a Wednesday, it's going to be an in class assignment. If I'm looking on a Friday, it's going to be a homework based assignment. So, that's not really that difficult, but that gives you an idea of how you can set up the rest of the assignment. So I also, once I figured that stuff out, I start going and I go, okay, what do I have in my real world experience bank that I could sit here and pull from and say, okay, I know that I did a project that hit this skill set and this was the situation. Let's take the basis of what I did in the real world, pick a new company, pick a new scenario, but keep the general idea and build out the assignment in that fashion. So it's an interesting way to look at things. Some people may not have that industry experience. If not, would recommend going to read news articles, maybe some cases. I kind of pull cases is when you really think get down to it. A lot of it is I start with a case idea and then I adapt it for my classroom. I am one who always like to use local businesses in the examples. I find that connects my students with the community a little bit more. So I try to do things that are local, but I take these what I used to do in ad agencies or in the small business or when I was writing my blog or if I was uh, consulting with somebody, and I take that and I kind of adapt that into an assignment. So that's kind of my step three that I have there. Since now I have the topic, the length of the assignment, and kind of an idea of the prompt for the assignment, now I go into Canvas and start building that out. The reason I build it out is there's some a lot of times I think of things differently than most people would. I was one of those students who could kind of get through an assignment, kind of BS it, get to the end of it, and go, okay, here it is, and I get pretty good. After grading a lot of papers now, I can see that my style of doing stuff was really not that crazy, and a lot of students have some trouble figuring out how to do things. So I try to lay out my examples and my instructions to be clear yet vague. It sounds kind of stupid, but the vague part gives them the ability to adapt and figure out and research and problem solve. And then the specifics give it so I at least get a product that I can compare and grade on a regular basis throughout all of the different students. So I come up with that and I start laying it out. Okay, here's what we're going to be turning in. Here's how many points it's going to be worth. Here's how we're going to be submitting it. Here's what you really need to include. Here are the main deliverables throughout this. So I build that out and it's like, okay, great. I now have this assignment. So the next thing I do is figure out how many points it's going to be worth. My in-class assignments usually are about a day's worth of attendance points, and I do everything on a 1,000 point scale. So if we're going to be doing a class, there's going to be 1,000 points in the class, and I usually divvy it up like 20% goes to the final, 20% to the midterm, 30% to attendance. And then you've got, I mean, we're at 70% there. So I got 30% for in class assignments or 20%, and then some reading reflections. Sometimes I do midterms, sometimes I don't. Just kind of varies on that. So I take that idea and I put points as value to it. Most of the time when I'm generating assignments, it's at the start of the semester. So, like just today, I got access to Canvas for my fall classes. So, what I go in and do is I'm going to go in and lay out my entire week schedule, and I'm going to put my topics in. I'm going to go through and go, here's what we're going to teach. These come from the master syllabi that I'm given. And as I start putting that in there, I start figuring out, okay, here's my topics. And then I go through and I build the assignments based upon that. A lot of times the points are going to be preset because I'm going to establish that in the syllabi at the start of the semester. But if they're not, I have to determine that as well. And then what I always do, and I find this is really useful, and just instead of just telling students, hey, the assignment's out there, what I do instead is I read it to them and we work through some questions in class. So on that Friday, what I typically do in a class is I'll read out my assignment and then I'll go, students, are there any questions? Now, okay, I want you to get you in groups now. And when you're in these groups, I want you to start working through the basics of this. I want to see before we leave. And a lot of times I use the draft technique where you have to submit a draft before you leave to get your attendance points. This gets them started on it because I don't want to wait till Sunday. And at the same time, I get their feedback because they may have to hit some initial questions right off the bat that I'm there to provide that feedback for right there. So once it's all done, I take whatever I've done, and they're always saved in Canvas, and I'll revisit it the next semester. I'll remember the assignment. Did it work well? Did it not? What worked great? What did not? And this varies by class. Sometimes an assignment in one class works so great. Sometimes in the other class, it's absolutely pitiful. Just depends on the dynamic of the students in that class and the way you present it and the time frame it's put in. So you kind of work through how do you want to adapt it a little bit. And once you come up with the final product, you try to get in the next semester. You go through the whole process again, testing, adapting, adjusting, and then you continue to do that for the rest of your life. That's how I build digital marketing assignments. So let's say I want them to do content generation and I want them to learn how to use a content calendar. Okay, so that may be 1 week. Content calendars are the big thing in the social class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say content calendars. This is going to be an in-class assignment because I want them to work on it here. In-class assignments in my classes are 20 points. So you get 20 points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, you're working for this local business named Savages. Savages has hired you on as a contractor. They want you to write content to help incentivize people to come into the restaurant and bar to get their food. They have these kinds of specials and they're open for any ideas on their type of content. They want a content calendar that includes 5 days per week of content that has at least a graphic or a video with it. You are the professional. You do a quick audit, slight social media plan of what you're looking at, and create this content for the company. That's the general idea of what the steps are going to be. So then once I have that, then I present that in class and I go, well, what about this? How big, how many words does it need to be? What platforms? Da da da. So then it gets added in. We kind of have that conversation and they go. If it's an in-class assignment like that, it's mostly going to be participation because that's going to give them the basis for the assignment I'm going to give them over the weekend. That's going to be an extended version, usually in a group format. So that's kind of the cadence and the system I use to come up with digital marketing assignments. I hope this is helpful. Again, this is the first live video. I didn't expect anybody to be here, but I wanted to give this a test run. So if you are watching this later on, leave something in the comments. I would ask you all to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and if you see any more live videos going on, make sure to set your timers or a calendar appointment. You can come and have a conversation. I find the teaching of digital marketing is interesting because there's not a lot of professors who are doing it, and a lot of the stuff's still in the industry. So it's slowly shifting over to academia, and you're starting to get some good stuff, but there's not a lot of community there. So these are meant to kind of be community pieces along with some idea generation. Austin and I will sit and talk all the time, and we come up with some killer ideas because we chat. So when you do that, you never know what's going to happen. So thank you for watching this. Again, if you see another video, make sure to schedule an appointment or a calendar reminder there and subscribe to the channel. Thanks and have a great rest of the day.